Welcome to Avant Technology Insights. I'm your host, Ken Presti, Research Vice President of Avant Research and Analytics. The link between solving business challenges and cutting-edge technologies has become tighter and more complex than ever before. In this podcast series, we delve into how enterprise decision makers can leverage SD-WAN, IT security, unified communications as a service, and a host of other SaaS opportunities towards greater operational efficiencies and higher success. We bring you the foremost experts in their respective fields to help you understand and assess the opportunities at hand. So please buckle up and let's begin. My guest today helps lead the charge for helping clients make the right technology decisions necessary to increase their company's productivity, simplicity, and efficiency. His Raleigh, North Carolina-based company is a trusted advisor that has helped more than 800 clients implement and support cloud, data center, security, network, and voice solutions. I want to welcome to the program the Chief Technical Officer of Opex Technologies, Ben Thornton. Opex has a role in a lot of different technologies, including security. So you seem like a good person to ask about security being embedded into everything, or at least looking at that as an objective and key concern in everything that trusted advisors do. Everybody's saying when you build something, you got to have security in mind from the ground up. But what does that mean in practice? And how do you embed security in every place in the network, knowing that you're not going to miss a spot that, some attacker is going to take advantage of?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my experience from a security standpoint comes primarily from compliance and ensuring that we were partnered with the right security firms in the banking. When I was in the banking industry, I'm not a certified ethical hacker, actual security expert, but very, very familiar with the process of finding those right people to ensure the security of a network. Definitely a proponent of defense in depth. You said putting security into everything that you do and into every place that you can. It's really interesting coming from banking and from the operations side of banking in particular. There's usually such a kind of battle between the security and the operations people because security by its nature tends to make things more difficult to do, and operations goal is to get things done, and so often they're at odds. And I think one of the biggest things that I really endeavored to do and feel like I was pretty good at when I was in banking was finding the security tools and methods and implementing them in such a way that you could build security without hampering operations to any notable degree. And in many cases, actually improving operations. You look at things like single sign-on and the CASB brokers and things like that, if implemented properly, can actually make people's day-to-day lives easier rather than more difficult. We also, we focus a lot on email security at Opex, which again, can be a bad thing from an operations standpoint. And we used to struggle with it a lot in banking in the earlier years when we were forced to do a lot of email encryption that was just cumbersome and difficult to get clients to log into, and people were constantly complaining about it. And my focus has always been on trying to find the solutions again that are the easiest to deploy but add the most value. And again, from an email security standpoint, trying to find solutions that paired good security with good spam protection and good archiving that might let you keep your inbox cleaner and things that people liked from an operations standpoint, without while still creating an additional level of security.
Right. See, it's interesting. I was talking to a guy a couple days ago, and he's the security guy in a large enterprise, and he says, I walk through the hall at work and it feels like nobody's all that happy to see me. And they move stuff around when they see me coming, like they don't want me to see it, and I know that there's stuff going on that I might not like. I'm trying to do what's right for the company. I'm not trying to make their life more difficult. So what I got from that is inherent in his role is not just the technology expertise required, but you have to have an understand of people, processes, and different things that relate to how they work, so that you can do that in the least intrusive way possible. When you come into a new place on that level, what sort of due diligence do you do up front in terms of finding out what those processes are so that you can secure the infrastructure in the most effective yet unobtrusive way possible?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of discussion that has to go into that. Some of it's with IT, and most of it, from our perspective, ends up being with IT just because that's who we have the most access to. But a lot of it also needs to tie back to the business units and understanding their frustrations. To the point that you just said, there are a lot of security guys, or at least the impression from the business line and even from IT operations is often that the security guys are the no guys. Wherever you ask them, the answer is going to be no, because uh, just about anything that you do is going to make the network less secure. And so let's just say no, no, no. Um, so going in first off, I think, and understanding from the operations and business side what their frustrations are around security, because I think you've got to change that perception and try and find those, again, ways that you can accomplish the same security goals in less obtrusive ways, so that you can earn some credibility and some goodwill towards security from the other groups in the organization, so that when you do have to say no, or when you have to say, well, we can't do it that way, but this, I know it's a little more cumbersome, but this will accomplish the same thing. They don't just see you as, oh, that's just because he always says no, and let's try and find a way around it. But building out that credibility that if you say no, or that it has to be done this way, then there's a solid reason for it. And that really, to me, is big. It's what are the pain points, not just from the security guys' standpoints, what keeps them up at night, but let's start with the operations people and try and make it so they see security as a partner and not an opponent.
And how much of that is about working with your security team? Because certainly, like you said, anything that they're going to want to add to the network, anything that they want to do is going to open up a new attack vector of some sort in one form or another. So the no answer is certainly the easy one and makes their jobs easier. But you don't want to be in quite that posture in your business setting. So, what do you tell people on your security team about how to assess what the operations people want to do so that you can really, get to the bottom of what you need to do to enhance your security, without really, getting that hampered by somebody that wants to make their own job easier within the security team?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's the same thing that I tell operations people, and it's the same thing that I tell, or that we try to follow at Opex as a trusted advisor. And it's all about problem solving. It's not being the no person or the yes person, but the solutions person. So, if someone comes and asks the security team for something that, on the face of it and the way that it's asked, clearly isn't something that can or should be done, rather than the answer being no, the answer, should really be to dive in, understand what they're truly trying to accomplish, and find a better way to do it that is secure. And so it's really just all about partnership.
Okay, so one of the things that we hear quite frequently, as a matter of fact, is about the talent shortage, especially in the security space. Why do you suppose that is? You can't swing your arm without hitting a coder these days, but there seems to be some sort of a bias against going into security, which seems to me like that would be some pretty fascinating work. If I had to rebuild my career from the ground up, if I were a younger man, I might look very seriously at that. Why do you think people are not moving into security at the level that the industry would need them to?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that it's people aren't moving into security, as you put it. They're not moving in at the level that it's needed. I think just because it's being needed, so the push into security and the additional need there is so great, it's almost impossible to capture enough. Um, it is just an exploding area. So from my standpoint there, from the client side, the question is, how do I make security jobs interesting enough that people are going to want to take them and are going to want to stay in them? And that's really where we come in as a trusted advisor with the portfolio of products um, that Avant has, and that we help uh, recommend and work on, which is all around managed security for the most part, and managed security, SOC as a service. You know, Sitting around looking at sim logs is not a particularly fun job during the day. It's a terrible job in the middle of the night. Coding, you mentioned there's coders all over the place. Well, that requires some critical thinking and is a little more interesting than just looking at a screen waiting for alerts to pop. Now, once an alert pops, digging into it, investigation, the really cool stuff that you get from someone like a Spider Labs from Trustwave or something like that. That's the fun side of security. Um, I think that, as well as designing the secure systems, and that I see in a lot of customers, and we struggled with it at the bank too, that the log monitoring, the day to day digging through logs is where most security people end up spending the bulk of their time, 60-80%, when they would prefer to be spending 60 to 80% of their time
Doing
doing
fun stuff.
doing the fun
Yeah,
stuff, the stuff that makes them
sure.
think. Whether it's the investigation or remediation, or the design and implementation, that's the fun stuff. So our whole goal is usually to come in and say, let us find someone that we can offload the not fun stuff to, and let your guys focus on the strategic stuff.
Okay, so let's say I'm the guy that you brought in to do the non-fun stuff. I'm the guy that's dealing with the logs. I'm the guy who's there at 3 o'clock in the morning. Actually, there's a couple of components to this question, really. Number one, what should I be doing so that I don't get alert fatigue? Because you get a lot of false positives, obviously. And so, how do I stay sharp in that particular role?
Well, first off, that's one of the places where, again, the large MSSPs have a big benefit, because they get to look across hundreds to thousands of different organizations and see trending. I mean, security trending is huge, and that threat intelligence. So pulling from a ton of threat intelligence feeds, having a really smart platform that can help correlate that and help weed out those false positives is huge, and that's just difficult to near impossible for a small to even mid-sized organization to do internally. So that's where we see a lot of benefit from the big MSSPs that are doing it all the time.
Hmm.
Um, as far as keeping it interesting and fun doing it, it's, again, probably where some of the big MSSPs have a better shot at getting and retaining the talent, because they're getting to see it across huge swaths of customers, and there's something worthwhile happening all the time. And then the real key there is once you've got all that data, doing the tuning, because yes, if you just leave the sim set to default, you're never going to make use of the alerts that are spit out because they'll come too fast to do anything with.
So, in the event where somebody comes in and they're at fairly entry level and they've got this monitoring kind of role, what would you tell me in terms of what I need to do in order to find the advancement that I'm looking for? Because I want to get to the cool stuff like everybody else does. What sort of things are going to really help me advance to a higher level?
Training and certification. I mean, that's a big part of it. You've got to put in your dues at the lower level, and you've got to actually be proactive about it, be a good employee, be the type of person that isn't just sitting there twiddling their thumbs, but is actively doing what they're supposed to do. But on the sidelines, you've got to be doing training and certification and improving your resume, because those opportunities are out there, but you got to show that you can do it, because no one wants to just assume or trust that you're going to be able to keep up with their organization's security. It's way too important. They want to see that you've got the backing and the education to do it.
You mentioned certain benefits of being one of the large MSSPs. And, as a regular trusted advisor, or as some people may call them, agents, security is a rapidly moving, area, and it's got to be hard to keep up with it on a day-to-day or even hour-by-hour basis. So like you mentioned, there's got to be times when you're looking to an MSSP to supplement what you could do or even take over. How often do you see that happening? What areas do you see that happening? And what kind of MSSP are you most likely to want to bring into the mix?
Yeah. I mean, again, the areas that we see it happening primarily around more and more people realizing that they need 24/7 monitoring, that someone looking at logs from 8 to 5 isn't sufficient anymore. For one, their employees aren't only working 8 to 5 anymore. So you've got to have someone watching things all the time, and that's just too difficult to build out internally. It's no fun, and it keeps you as the manager, whether it's the CISO or CIO or IT director or whoever's overseeing that. If you've got guys working 24/7, then you're working 24/7 to some degree. So we see a lot of people making the shift because of that need for 24/7.
Finding the right people and integrating security into every aspect of your infrastructure is a difficult and constantly changing endeavor. The good news is that you, as an enterprise decision maker, don't need to go it alone. Trusted advisors like Opex and a host of other companies are well positioned to help you understand the technologies themselves and how adopting new technologies can impact your company's efficiencies and build that bottom line, while at the same time reducing your security risk and making sure that you have exactly what you need in order to successfully respond if and when bad things happen. So, in conclusion, our best word of advice is to contact your trusted advisor and keep them up to speed on the ever-changing technology needs of your company, thereby freeing up your team to focus skills and resources on what you do best, taking care of your customers. For Avant Research and Analytics, this is Ken Presti. You've been listening to Avant Technology Insights, featuring information and opinions on how key technologies can be leveraged to solve business problems. Avant Technology Insights is a service of Avant Communications, a platform for IT decision-making. All opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the guests and the host. For more information, please feel free to download our research reports and other resources at www.goavant.net. That's www.goavant.net. For Avant Research and Analytics, this is Ken Presti.